think deep down that we all have expensive taste, but the practical, rational side comes out, brings us back down to earth and says, you do not need to spend a lot of money on home decor. Am I right? Well, let's save a boatload of money today by duping some high-end decor. I found some amazing pieces online that were way out of my budget. So by making them myself, I saved so much money. You will not believe how much money I saved. Let's start with our first project. I found this beautiful Magnolia flower arrangement in a blue and white container. This piece is from the Horror Chow website. It costs $530. No, I think we can make it for much, much less. I found this gorgeous blue and white container at my local thrift store. It was only $2.99. What a score, right? What a great find. The only thing that was wrong at all with this piece was that it was a little bit dirty inside. Of course, that is an easy fix. All I did was get some water and some dish soap and I cleaned out the inside. Now it's as good as new. To create my arrangement, of course, I need some magnolia stems. I found these at home and they were only $7.99. And of course, you know what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna make a grid out of some Scotch tape. I took my tape and I ran some pieces across and down. The tape will hold my flowers in place without having to use floral foam, which again will save me money. Once my grid was made, I took some wire cutters and I cut off some individual stems off of the bunch. Then I bent the stem to make it shorter and I nestled it inside of the tape grid. I continued to trim individual stems off the large bunch. I bent the stem and added the magnolia flowers into the tape grid. Then I took just a few stems of magnolia leaves and I placed them in the container as well. At this point, I just zhuzhed those flowers and stems around to make it look identical to my inspiration flower arrangement. And that's it. How simple was that to make, you guys? And it looks identical to my inspiration piece. The size of mine is a little bit smaller, but besides that, I love the way it mimics the original. And the best part is the cost of mine. So let's go over how much I spent to make my magnolia flower arrangement. As you know, that container was only $2.99 from my thrift store. The flowers were $7.99. And since we had the tape, I'm not gonna count that in my cost. So all in, we are at $11. What a screaming deal. By creating this myself, I saved $519. I definitely feel good about that cost savings. I'm a sucker for pretty glass jars or dishes or candlesticks. Pretty much anything like that I absolutely love. So when I saw this etched glass candle holder, it really caught my eye. This garden fern hurricane is from Shop Barclay Butera and it's $70. Now that's not an outrageous price, but we can make it for less. We're gonna start out with a Dollar Tree vase. And to create a similar etching pattern, I'm going to create a fern decal on my Cricut Maker. I just selected some random ferns that looked like the ferns on my inspiration piece. What I did was I actually pulled out the fern to leave the negative space. And then I wrapped my removable vinyl decal around my vase. It is important to make sure that the edges along the decal are firmly pressed against your glass vase because you want a crisp, sharp edge at the end. You don't have to use vinyl like I am. There are a lot of other options. You can use a stencil, you can use a package of stickers that have some botanicals in there, some branches, some flowers, some ferns, just like what I'm using, and just pull those stickers out to leave the negative space, and then wrap it around your container. Next, we're gonna use some etching cream. I got this Armor Etch on Amazon, and I will leave a link in my description box so you can see exactly what I used. What I did was I got a paintbrush and I just painted on this Armor Etch in all of the negative space. You're gonna wanna add a fair amount of cream. You really wanna make sure that every part of the exposed glass is covered in the cream. Once I had the etching cream on all of the exposed glass, I let it sit for about 10 minutes. Now the directions online say that you're only supposed to leave it on for a couple of minutes, but I've done that in the past and the etching isn't quite as deep, so I like to leave mine on just a little bit longer, so 10 minutes worked for me. And then it's time to remove the cream. Here is a pro tip. I save the leftover etching cream, so I just take my paintbrush and I scrape all that leftover etching cream and I put it back into the bottle so I can use it again. It's a lot more cost efficient this way, and that way you're not wasting all of this armor cream by just rinsing it down the drain. Once I had all of the excess cream removed from my vase, I took my vase to the sink and I rinsed off the remaining cream. I just simply wiped it off with my gloved up hand and then I dried it. Because I used removable vinyl, it was really easy to take this vinyl off of my vase. And now look how fantastic this is. The details on the ferns are outstanding. The etching is perfectly even, and I love the subtle fern detail. I placed a battery operated candle inside, and now the dupe is done. Let's go over the cost of what I spent. My vase was from the Dollar Tree, and I got it a couple months back where the Dollar Tree was still just $1. So it was $1 for that. And the etching cream, we'll say that we used about 50 cents worth. And I'm going to estimate the cost of the vinyl to be about $3. So all in, we are $4.50 to make my dupe. A quick reminder, my inspiration piece was $70, and the only difference between the two is that theirs is a few inches wider than mine. They're both the same height, but theirs is a bit wider. But that's okay because we saved ourselves $65.50. Next, we have this Hollywood Regency decorative bowl by Kathy Quo. Just the name of this bowl sounds super fancy, don't you think? Well, this ceramic bowl costs $236. Again, that's way more than I want to pay. So let's try and make a better version for less. I found my ceramic bowl at the local thrift store. Once again, it's been the hero of all of my dupes, and it was only $7.99. It is the perfect shape, but the finishing reminds me of an alligator. I see too many of those around my neighborhood. I saw this one out on a walk the other day. I saw this one on the way to the park. I saw this one as I was driving by, and I saw this little fella slide into the pond the other day. And while they don't bother us, and we certainly do not bother them, we live harmoniously together. And while I appreciate their presence in my neighborhood, I do not want to be reminded of their scaly skin in my house. So we're gonna change the color of this bowl to white. I'm going to be using some Rustoleum white gloss spray paint. I sprayed this decorative bowl with a coat of paint. I let it dry, and then I sprayed a second coat of paint to ensure an even and saturated coverage. Already, this piece looks 100% better. No more gator green. Let's move on to the rim of this bowl. My inspiration piece had a gold rim. To recreate that gold edge on my piece, I'm going to be using some Rub and Buff in the color Gold Leaf. Again, I'll leave a link to this Rub and Buff in my description box so you can get to it easily. What I did was I just took a rag and I added a little dab of the Rub and Buff onto the rag, and then I wiped it along the rim of my bowl. This was so easy to do. The rub and buff doesn't bleed at all. It stays right where you put it. It's similar to a saturated wax and it dries pretty much immediately. So I just continue to wipe on the rub and buff along the entire perimeter of the decorative bowl. The gold leaf color is an identical shade to my inspiration piece, and it adds just enough of a decorative touch to this bowl to make it unique. We are done. Another simple, easy, affordable dupe. The size of mine is actually larger than my inspiration piece. So let's find out how much I spent. As you know, that decorative bowl from the thrift store was $7.99. I used a full can of the spray paint, and I purchased this spray paint at Target, and it was $4.97. And we'll say that we used about 50 cents of the rub and buff. So in total, the cost for my dupe is $13.50, which means I saved $222.50. I love it. So great. Another deep discount from the original price. If I were to purchase all 3 dupes that we made today online, it would cost me $836. I just wouldn't do it. So I'm glad that I was able to dupe these beautiful pieces, because in total, it only cost me $29 to make all 3. That's a cost that I can get behind and feel really good about. So what do you think about my dupes? They're pretty close to the original inspiration pieces, don't you think? I am pretty impressed with the way that they turned out. If you have seen something in a store or online that is just way out of your budget, but you absolutely love it, try and recreate it for less. Go to your local thrift store, look through your closets, go to the Dollar Tree, try and find something similar and then recreate it in an affordable way. I hope you got some inspiration or some motivation today to get out there and make your own dupes. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.